3, 2, 1. When it reaches 0, your call will ring. With that hope, I count down. How many hundreds of times have I done this already? It's like a childish charm. Underneath the ventilator, I indulge in a centimeter-sized feeling and try lighting up the same brand of cigarette you used to smoke. Unsurprisingly, I couldn't get used to it, and I coughed loudly. My lungs burned. I felt irritated with myself. My saliva wets the filter. The white lines of smoke are swallowed up by the ventilator and disappear, just like a relationship. The sun was directly overhead. The high transparency of the sky made my eyes sing. Nevertheless, I lifted my chin. The contrail lines were slowly dissolving into the deep blue of the sky. Along the cherry blossom avenue, voices of celebration echoed. It was in full bloom. Amidst the fluttering petals, everyone was taking photos, giving high fives, and celebrating. I had woken up early to have my black hair done at the beauty salon. I really wanted to buy one, but I rented a kimono because I didn't have the money. Someone was holding a banner that read, "Summer Vacation of Life Over," and shouting, "We were beautiful." Indeed, the future was in our hands. Because she smiled shyly and told me, even after graduation, nothing will change. I believed those words. The smell of your scalp, slightly overgrown fingernails, the feel of your tongue, the sheets, dyed by the morning sun, still bore the wrinkles of our shapes. I definitely nodded in agreement with your words, or at least, I should have. But, day by day, time passes regardless, mercilessly moving forward without paying us any attention. The past remains unchanged. The present, on the other hand, is uncertain. I graduated from the art college I was attending, and you joined a famous advertising agency while I ended up at a small illustration-focused production company that worked for subcontractors of subcontractors. The reality beyond April was just early mornings, crowded trains, bosses' reprimands, and overtime work. The just in all of that was slowly eroding our time together. I found myself unable to leave the house. My room was mainly made up of convenience store bags, half-empty water bottles, and cup noodles with congealed broth. I stared at my smartphone. My own image reflected on the screen, laughing and looking back at me. It was ridiculous. 2 in peace signs, making funny faces, hugging you. It was ridiculous. I couldn't make those faces anymore. I couldn't laugh like that anymore. On that day when light rain was falling, you said, "Why did it have to turn out like this? If I knew, it wouldn't be like this." I replied, laughing even though it wasn't funny. If I didn't laugh, I felt like I might cry. I kept laughing. You looked at me with a puzzled expression as I laughed, my nose running like a glitch. You wanted to say something but couldn't. You didn't say it. That kind of expression. And then, you silenced me. You were skillful and cunning. In the frequency of our meetings, in the little moments of conversation, you conveyed your feelings towards me, the intensity of them. You even let me have the last word. Yes, we were just ex-lovers. I know. I understand. But I wanted to see you just one more time. Even though we used to be together all the time, I couldn't find a trace of you anywhere in my room. A pimple on my lip rubbed against the sheets. Even on the bed where we used to snuggle, I couldn't find your scent. I couldn't cry, didn't know what to do, and kept burying my face in the pillow. On the day of our farewell, I resented your neatness as you took only your belongings and left, leaving behind a messy me. You ran away. From me. From this worthless me. The calls from the company that had laid me off also stopped coming. My daily routine had become waking up as the day darkened and sleeping as it brightened. It had already become a daily occurrence. My meager salary for last month was deposited into my account, providing some support. I massaged my aching back due to oversleeping and lack of exercise, finally getting up. The room was dark again today. I quenched my thirst with flat cola and pushed back my overgrown bangs. I had fallen into decadence. My student days were much better in comparison. I was the epitome of a recluse. If there were a ranking of the most pointless creatures on earth, I would surely rank quite high. Engaging in such meaningless daydreams, I decided to try a countdown with half-hearted anticipation. 3, 2, 1. Just before it reached 0, the phone rang. I thought it was you, but it was from Yui, my university classmate. It wasn't you. I wanted to throw my smartphone against the wall, but I answered the call for now. Yui majored in traditional Japanese painting, while I studied oil painting. Our majors were different, but we were in the same club, and we used to go out for drinks occasionally during our student days. Yui hadn't found a job after graduating from university and continued to work part-time at a karaoke bar while pursuing her art. I secretly looked down on her for that. Pursuing a dream and believing in talent in such uncertain times, as if she were chasing after a flower that would never bloom. "So, I heard you quit your job," she asked. Hearing those words again hit me hard. Where did she hear that information? I hadn't even told my parents yet. But I managed to hold my ground and replied, "What? Just calling to tease me? You've got an assy personality." Sorry. That's not it. I'm actually inviting you because I'm having a solo exhibition soon." "You mean that cotton exhibition? What else do you have going on? Come on. You've been cooped up for so long. Go out once in a while." Annoyed by her persistence, I dismissed her and hung up the phone. I was alone again. I wondered when was the last time I put on makeup. In the past, I used to enjoy dressing up quite a bit. However, after joining the illustration production company, the stress, sleep deprivation, and the daily grind with my creepy colleagues who worked like machines made me become a woman who thought, "I can't just hide behind a mask." Of course, after becoming a shut-in, there was no need for makeup that no one would see. As I looked at myself in the mirror before leaving, I felt like I had put in too much effort, so I reapplied my makeup. When I stepped outside, the sunlight, which I hadn't directly felt in a long time, was harsh. The birds chirping was annoyingly loud. I hesitated in the midst of the bustling city and dragged my heavy feet toward the train station. Even the beep of the automatic ticket gate sounded like a warning to me. After changing trains a few times, I finally arrived at the gallery in Daizoa. A few people were chatting outside while sipping coffee. I slipped past them and gently pushed open the slightly heavy door. It wasn't very spacious, but the interior had a clean, minimalist design with white painted exposed concrete walls. 3 of the walls were adorned with paintings of flowers from each season. The cherry blossoms, just before blooming, were depicted with their buds full of vitality on slender yet sturdy branches. Next to them, hydrangeas and deep indigo petals glistened with raindrops, radiating modest beauty. Sunflowers on a summer day. Fragrant osmanthus blossoms in late autumn, seemingly ready to waft their scent. Plum blossoms that had endured the harshness of winter and bloomed. They all looked fresh. Such vibrant colors could only be achieved with a delicate balance of rock pigments, water, and glue. "You came," I heard a voice say. Until she spoke to me, I hadn't even noticed how absorbed I was. When I turned around, Yui, wearing a navy dress, was standing there with a smile on her face. "It's amazing," I said. Without hesitation, I shared my genuine impression in words. You think so?" she replied with her front teeth showing. Her clear and cheerful smile seemed like proof of how much soul she had poured into these works. Among the other visitors, Yui's name was called, and she responded with a cheerful voice. She seemed busy. I wish I could buy her art book to show my support, but I couldn't afford it right now. So, with that thought, I quietly headed towards the exit to avoid bothering Yui. But then, my arm was grabbed. "Why don't you try painting too?" Yui said, looking straight at me without a smile. "I actually like the paintings you did," she continued. It was a phrase I had heard before. It was you, after all. You were always the first viewer of my paintings. I really like the paintings you create, you had said. Thinking back, it sounded a bit condescending, but you were not the type to praise others' work often, so I genuinely appreciated it. On my way back, I bought a 20th-sized canvas at Sakedo in Shinjuku. The setting sun dyed my cheeks bright red. I set up the canvas I had bought on the easel. I faced it. A blank canvas, pure white and still untouched. I thought, this is the world. In this pure white world, what would I paint? I stared at it for a while, motionless. What I, in my current state, should paint. You know, the scarier it is, the more you should jump in. Taro Okamoto supposedly said that once. It's funny how you proudly told me that. I had been staring at the brush, which had been sleeping in the closet for a while. I picked it up, holding it lightly. 12 colors of paint were spread out on the palette. The smell of turpentine wafted from the jar. I took a slow breath and closed my eyes. The tip of the brush was becoming a part of me. I was in your city. The deserted coin laundry illuminated the night street. Your washing machine, which stubbornly refused to be repaired even when we asked for it to be fixed, was no longer there. We packed our discarded clothes into plastic bags and came all the way here just to do the laundry. Isn't it better this way? As if they're freshly washed, I remembered your peculiar excuse. There was no sign of people in the shopping street. Somewhere, a cat was meowing, but I couldn't see it. Yo, yeah, you said with strange cries as you rode on the back of your bicycle. There were winters when we split a croquette from the butcher shop and summers when we touched sneakers as we walked. We'd scrape them on the deliberately worn out asphalt. All the shops had their shutters down, and the cold moon looked down on me. Your hand, which I held and walked with, the feeling of it, its warmth. It never faded away. I turned into an alley. Apartments crowded both sides of the narrow street. A scent that always reminded me of rain hung in this alley. Was it because this was where you first kissed me? I closed my eyes and tentatively brought my lips closer to yours, who were sleeping. Actually, I had been watching all along. My heart was pounding. My toes curled. Back then, my hair was still long. We met at a club drinking party. We didn't have much money, so we had a home drinking session. It was at your place. We drank a lot, and everyone fell asleep. Late into the night, I woke up on the floor. You were sleeping next to me. As I shifted, our feet touched. Your heels were dry and cracked. That feeling, that excitement. I wanted to touch your kind breath as you slept. Someone had knocked over a flower vase, spilling water. There was a puddle on the floor. The moonlight reflected and it was beautiful. In that nostalgic town, I screamed. I screamed your name loudly, and I heard a response. That voice. It was just like that. Following that voice, I moved my feet. No, I ran. I lifted my knees high and ran with all my might. Even if my joints were scraped, I had to run now, or I would regret it forever. It was a foregone conclusion that it was something I couldn't do. When I reached the top of the hill, I could see a park on a small hill. The jungle gym we once played on was casting a cutout-like shadow on the sandbox. You were sitting on the swing, smoking a cigarette. You blinked your long eyelashes and said, "Hey!" I replied, "Hey!" In the next moment, the towns and cities spread out beyond the hill began to shine. The activities of people turned into light, illuminating you and me. There was a city on the canvas. I leaned against the wall in my room. The night was ending soon. Before I realized it, my entire body was soaked in sweat. It wasn't unpleasant sweat. I collapsed on the spot and put the brush down on the palette. I couldn't accept all of me, even though I wanted you to understand me so badly. My weaknesses, my flaws, I wished you could accept them more. But the me who had been living for more than 20 years couldn't accept myself. So, well, it's impossible. Even without hope, without you, I have to continue living as myself from now on. Embracing the days when I was with you, longing for them. I probably won't do countdowns anymore. I won't rely on childish charms or spells. At the very least, the landscape of the two of us in the canvas stands as a happy ending. That's good enough. Instead of a call from you, my stomach rumbled. Maybe I'll make breakfast soon. And then, I'll eat my fill. Yeah. Let's do that.